Alright guys, welcome to VALORANT News. We have our first two teams at Masters Bangkok advancing through to the playoffs, and massive reaction to these results, and understandably so. Edward Gaming won the World Championship last year, but there were serious questions whether they could maintain this form going forward. G2, the pre-event favourites, eviscerated in Map 3 by the reigning World Champions. Are they now the heavy favourites for this entire tournament? How about Durka and Vitality as well? Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. This screenshot always, well, it will continue to make me laugh as and when these circumstances occur. Boost Joe, July the 11th, 2023. China will never be better than NA at VALORANT. And look, they've not won the tournament yet, but they've taken a big step forward towards that today. Just quickly from NRG, they confirmed that, well, Brook we know is confirmed to have been there, but did a bit of a montage, gassing him up basically on the team now. There are some questions as to whether Brook was the right man for the job. Still, the decision to get rid of Bonkar, let's be honest, that is the controversial one. The Verno decision is understandable maybe in context of the situation, but, you know, the fact that Bonkar's gone as the coach and Mike's is in, raise some questions as to why and how that operation unfolded in the way that it did, and really whether Brook was the right man to replace Verno for exactly what NRG needs. But they believe it's going to take them in the right direction. They've obviously gassed him up in their announcement today. But obviously they were not at Bangkok, a team that was, and still are for now, G2 Esports. And here they are. I thought this was pretty cool, advertising the G2 bundle on this massive billboard here. And of course they were tweeting about it. People were noticing exactly this as well there in the city. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And of course they turned up to the venue later on. This was a shot from the venue when these matches were about to get underway, and we're certainly going to see that in a second. Now G2, they were tweeting quite a lot of trash talk the other day, certainly when Sentinels lost their series to DRX, and they said, look, Americas might just be a one-team region, could be a zero-team region, depending on how things go over the next couple of days, because, yeah, that series has caused some notes to say the very least. Sentinels, of course, they are in the losers bracket. Tomorrow they play Liquid. If they win that series, they survive, and they play one of these losing teams today, either, as we'll see in a second, DRX, who I don't imagine they're going to be able to play again, but I guess it's possible depending on how things go, or G2, of course, which was the grand final series back at the Americas playoffs, where Sentinels eventually lost in a pretty close fought affair. So that's obviously, Sentinels have to take it step by step, and I do think that the respective styles of the different teams favour some teams in certain matchups over others. We'll certainly get into that when we discuss this EDG series in a couple of minutes' time. Before we get there though, here's Durka getting, the first player to get over the 2,000 kill milestone on the international level, Masters, Champions, stuff like this. Aspas got their overall kills in the Americas, but in terms of international events, this is where Durka, I think, was the first player to reach. So that was pretty remarkable. And, I mean, there were more players from Durka as well. At this point, honestly, it looked almost guaranteed that Vitality were going to close out this series without too much difficulty. They'd won the first game. Durka was playing super good here on the Abyss. This was a great round from Durka here to go up in the end 9-6. Hops the defuse, 1 versus 1. Kills flashback, hops back on the defuse and gets the kill. Pretty demoralizing way to lose a round as well there. Durka on fire, really, during this entire tournament so far. They did win the series, but it was actually DRX that won that map 2 in the end. So Bind was 13-8 to Vitality. Really impressive start. And to be fair, for most of this series, it was pretty much high and min shooting back. Mako had a good map 2 on the Abyss, a really good one, went 25-16. But on the map 3, that was kind of, well, it was obviously the decider on the split. That was where things got interesting. But fair play to DRX, because after going down 1-0 and after going down to the way they did on the Bind and Durka making that play to go up 9-6, I thought it was probably looking good, definitely, for the Vitality guys. But no, in the end, DRX brought it back. They won the map 13-11. Crazy result from them, really, in the grand scheme of things. Durka went 32-17 for the loss. Safe not with a great map here on the Tejo. But the split, of course, an absolute Game 3 decider split banger as always. And it was freeing, and High and Min making the plays. Durka had a great map 3 again. Kicks, I think, deserves a lot of credit as well for this victory. And for Vitality to start well, obviously splitting the pistols on this map, go to a deciding rounds, and then winning the attack when it matters to take down DRX. Devastating loss for DRX, because of course they'll now drop down to a situation where, again, they could hypothetically be eliminated in a top 6 position, which is usually where they get eliminated, but they will be in a deciding game. But yeah, Durka, great day for him. And I think there were questions before, but I think especially now on Fnatic's decision-making, right? Because, look, would Durka, if he was still at Fnatic, been delivering the same results that they were getting a couple of years ago when Fnatic were dominating the league? Probably not. I mean, you know, if they were going to do so, they probably would have done it again, which they didn't. But at the end of the day, Fnatic wanted to make a change. They made the call to get rid of Durka and bring in Kayak. And it's not like Kayak's bad, but, you know, Durka's looking like one of the best players, if not the best in the entire game at the moment. Even though that might be a bit of a stretch based on what we're going to see from EDG here in a second. But still, Fnatic's decision to get rid of him is controversial now, more so in hindsight, given they're not even there in Bangkok having the tasty food, as Durga described it, and he is, and is obviously eating up his opposition as well. This next series, though, was pretty remarkable to me, because G2, they have looked, and at times continue to look, incredibly strong as a team. This, though, was a completely bonkers 1 versus 4 here from Chichu. I mean, that fight, like, this entire clutch is just absurd, actually, here from Chichu. I'll play it out for you guys again. 1v4 for Chichu, early days here on the Pearl. He gets the first kill short onto Giacomo. Obviously, you know, he does pretty well there, Leaf, to stay alive, but Jonah P goes down all of a sudden 1 versus 2, and the fact that he decides not even to bother reloading and just says, you know what, I'm so confident that I'm going to right-click him in with a classic, that's exactly what I'm going to do, because Trim wasn't even weak, but he still just absolutely nails the final kill. But G2, versus basically everyone they've played, have looked incredibly strong and solid. They are a very, very disciplined team, and that's great, typically, but Edward Gaming, what impresses me most about them is that they managed to find a way, pretty much regardless of the circumstances, to come up with a winning way to play Valorant against the opposition. And my feeling is that against a disciplined team like G2, it's going to be difficult to beat them playing their game. You've got to beat them being like a bit of a maniac, really. And this is what Paper Rex have kind of made their style in the past. But Edward Gaming, they just execute it way better. Like, they know when to go crazy. They know when to run it down, man up, man down, you know, eco rounds. They know when to make the right plays. And they're able to make these incredibly aggressive moments that G2 aren't necessarily expecting and catching them off guard. And then sometimes they won't. And that's kind of, you know, they've got that perfect balance, I think, Edward, between being disciplined where they need to be and not making unnecessary mistakes, but also they've got that, like, Paper X style that other teams have really not been able to match at all. But, to be fair, huge defuse here from Leaf, goes up 16-15. They eventually close out a remarkable overtime. But after tying up the series at 1-1, Edward Gaming, Kang Kang, of course, was hyping up the crowds, and I think they looked incredibly confident, really. It's been impressive to me to see the energy that they bring to the stage. Lots of confidence, lots of laughs, lots of smiles, lots of fist bumps. And they seem to be very relaxed, Edward, and playing some of their absolute best Valorant right now. Because after the World Championship last year, given where they were at previous internationals, there was a question for many. It's not like last year's World Championship win was a fluke. Like, they played the best Valorant by a margin, and they won the tournament. But still, there were questions, and understandably, to say, okay, can they realistically do that again? Are they going to be able to replicate that performance? But they've turned up here against G2, the pre-tournament favourites by many people's eyes, and taken them down very comfortably. They won the game 2, they go to a fracture, and sure, G2 got like 4 rounds here, but it wasn't close. Like, this was an absolute demolition job from start to finish, and it was amazing to see some of the viewership on various platforms. I think this number here is not 57.9 thousand. This is actually 579,000 viewers in a co-stream. So, like, Chinese viewership continues to kill it, and Chinese Valorant continues to make serious strides. And Edward take the 2-1 win. We saw the Pearl banger, insane overtime 18-16, but even that, right, the fact that EDG were able to lock in, win the bind on their pick 13-8, and then take it to a fracture where they completely destroyed Edward. Now, look, sure, they did win every single pistol, and that helps. Obviously, that helps. Edward won both pistols on the Pearl, both pistols on the bind, both pistols on the fracture. But still, they put G2 to sleep in a way that we've not really seen any other team capable of doing. And as Leaf says, yeah, 0-6 pistols doesn't help. Those guys, though, are insane. Couldn't get anything going on the last couple of mats. We will be better going forwards. And as Josh RT says, the coach over there, yeah, GG's, we've got to be better, and we will be better going forwards. They, of course, play a very important series in just a few days' time. VALORANT gives them a credit, and of course, they did win a map. It wasn't 0-2 like they did actually win one. It probably felt like an 0-2 just because that, original map series was probably so long ago as far as he was concerned. But these results are now concluded, and that puts the bracket situation as follows. So, Edward taking down G2. Big result in the context of the tournament, especially the way in which they did it, because, Trace Esports are not bad, but they got destroyed by G2, 13-8, 13-3, and then Edward come in, they present their style to the table, and G2 really have no answer for it. So far, can G2, if they were to rematch Edward again, deliver a better performance? I think it's possible, but Edward Gaming, they advance through to the playoffs. Vitality, they advance through to the playoffs. Tomorrow, it's going to be T1 Trace Esports, Team Liquid versus Sentinels, and then shortly after that, we're going to find out which of those teams survive, and therefore who plays DRX, who plays G2, to secure the final couple of spots in the playoff stage of Bangkok. And of course, these games set to begin on the 27th of February once those final 4 teams have all been locked in. So very much interested your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.